Color. Goodbye. Color. Goodbye.
Alright guys, we'll be starting in just a moment with Pharos versus Crimson Cantab, so just bear with us. Just got both the players in the lobby now. Alright, so for game number 1 between Pharos and Crimson Cantab, we've been gifted Ghost Lake. And it's just spawning in now. So spawning, I'll just keep tapping open just for a minute, but it looks like both players have already found a hunt, so we should be right there. Spawning here, on the top side, as the green Greek player today, we've got Crimson Cantab, taking his first hunt, still gathering some wood because it looks as though he's going to open with a quick barracks behind the first storehouse. Meanwhile, Pharos, also looking to do the same. First storehouse, getting the wood, to get an early barracks as well, so both players pretty much mirror build at the moment. So Pharos the first player to really be checking the lake. The Crimson's actually spotted sheep first. Both of them trying to contend for these sheep. No early hunting dogs yet from both players, obviously, because they've gone for the barracks, but even still, it's nice to try and get the sheep if you can. Because it just puts more pressure on the other player should they get knocked off the hunts, because they've really got to work around the berries, which is the slowest gather rate of all until you get an upgrade. Just obviously resources you got to commit to. So Spearman versus Sparabara to start with. So it's an interesting matchup, this one, and in age 2, obviously the Persian wants Asabara to try and deal with the Greek range, and the Greek wants Sparabara to deal, wants Sarasofri to deal with the Persian range. And Greek have probably got a bigger emphasis, a bigger need for spearmen, although Persia have the better spearmen, given they're an age 2 higher cost spearmen. Right now, we've got the spearmen heading across the field from Crimson. The Persian player actually getting hunting dogs, Pharos, and he also has access to A10, which no other civ does. Crimson not going for an A10 himself, keeping a pair of spears at home for the time being. But sending 3 starting spears in just to harass. Don't think he's really going to get any value though. Sort of needed all 5 to really be able to take a fight against the 4 Sparrow. So he's bringing the other 2 across now. And re-rallied to the middle of the lake. So he wants to actually try and take a fight given that he's got bigger numbers. And the Persian player can't make use of A10, should he have it already, here in the middle of the Ghost Lake. Whereas up here, obviously, he can get A10, put down a storehouse here or something, and actually try and engage the Greek a little bit safely on the front of his base. So Pharos, for the time being, seems to have cut production to go for age 2. Crimson Still stuck in age 1. Getting another house. So numbers in favour of the Greek player, as long as he brings everything over, which he needs to do. But even still, Persian's reasonably safe for now. Hasn't invested into aid tent though, but Pharos is opting to take a fight. So Pharos marking out a low spar, getting one of the spears already. Gonna try and get another. Giving it a bit of town centre fire there as well. So his age 2's kicked in, Crimson's still in age 1. Pharos is getting aid tent now. Gonna be really useful because it'll pretty much pay for itself, healing up a Spara or 2 or 3. Crimson's still rallying units part of the way, so that's really hurting his initial engages here. He really needs to have all the units here in the one spot to be able to take these fights as best he can, especially now that the Persian has this healing. So the Greek doesn't. Obviously these low units are going to be a bit of a liability in future fights. They're going to have to take the engage from the back, otherwise they're going to die fairly early. Underdogs coming out now from Crimson. So he probably could have afforded to slip this or the age 2 in a little bit quicker here. Pharos already getting handsaw. Crimson at the same time has the pop advantage, even on villages at 19 apiece, but he definitely has full more army up his sleeve here, so he's going to try and take out one of these houses for Pharos. Pharos is quick on the repair here, has the TC just in range of one of the spears, so it looks as though the Spire should be able to take this one out. But Pharos disengages at a bad time there, so the spear's able to get out. Second town centre going up for Pharos. Crimson has the resources for his now that his age 2 is finished as well. Has the handsaw coming out, so he's not a lot slower on that front, really. It's not really yay or nay behind. Not a big deal. Age 2 town centre. Only slightly slower, but he does have less villages on it for now. At 4 instead of 6. So he probably will be a villager or 2 behind. This aid tent going to prove to be difficult because the Greek player is basically going to be sacrificing your damage on whatever it's healing. And there's no Hypaspis here in the mix to really cut through this Persian wall of infantry. So a couple of spears are going to go down here for Crimson. Pharos working in some spearmen of his own. So they've actually got 3 extra damage over the Sparbara. Otherwise, the same melee armor. They don't actually have the ranged armor though, so they are weaker on that front. But for now, there's no range from the Greek player. It's taking a fairly distant town centre. Pharos in the meanwhile, taking a very stacked town centre compared to Crimson. He's now working Hypers in the mix, so now the fights are going to work in his favour because even though they're only 11 damage, they've actually got that 2.5 time damage multiplier against the Persian infantry. But in saying that, Pharos has worked in his bowmen, so now the Greek player is going to want to add in either some of his own through his Toxotes, or yeah, he's getting a stable on top of this to actually add in the Sarasopheroi. So he needs those to really cut through the Persian backline, who can also go for his own stables, which he is doing now, to try and annihilate those Toxotes. So spears back of Pharos' base by Crimson, so they're just looking for an opportunity. Should Pharos push out with his army, then Crimson's free to actually stream these guys in just to do a little bit of harass. Won't really get a lot, but it'll also possibly give a bit of intel as to what Pharos is adding on to his composition following up. So he's adding another range as well as the stable, so he'll be up to 2 ranges. Getting both Town Watch and Wheelbarrow, so he's figured out a good time to hit them at just about 35-40 villages. Crimson doesn't have everything stacked up here to take this fight, so there's not a huge front line here for Pharos, but at the same time he does have the bowman count advantage, so he's really pushing Crimson back, streaming some more units across as well. And now he's just starting back as Crimson's Sari joins the mix, so this is really going to put a bit of hurt on the bowman. Nice macro by Crimson, going straight on the low bowman and then straight on some more. Couple of bowmen going, I mean, couple of bowmen going down there, and Crimson evening up that trade somewhat, getting a couple of kills there at the end. So 2 rangers, a stables, and a barracks there for the Persian player Pharos today. Crimson adding in a second stables and a second range as well. So, oh, and here comes another stables. So right now Crimson's taking a slight lead on production facilities. Pharos committing to age 3, so that's 900 resources. He's investing into aging up. But Crimson's investing into stuff right here, right now, in terms of army, in terms of production facilities. So he should be able to mount a slightly quicker push than Pharos. But at the same time, the longer it takes to hit, the more likely Pharos is going to have worked in age 3 technologies like upgrades, Bowman Champion, Spearman Champion, a Sabaro Champion, or even age 3 units. So just be a minute or two while these players basically macro up into the next stage, sort of see whether their decision making pays off here. And see whose decision making pays off here. So Pharos is going to have the option to throw down a 3rd town center as well, so he can commit even more resources away from his army into his economy if he chooses to do so, and it can pay off if Crimson's not able to punish it. But at the same time, Crimson's adding in production facilities and now adding in more units, so he is actually down in population, but I think he was just going for a bit of a wood boom to get all these buildings out, adding more houses, which he was a bit slow on. So now he should probably push ahead of Pharos in terms of army size. Like I said, Pharos is going to have the option of adding age 3 units in his mounted archers, and probably look at adding some upgrades in soon as he can actually muster up the gold for it. Going for the age 3 town center already, but it's quite defensive, so he knows because he's taken these decisions, he needs to really hunker down in the event he loses a fight. So Crimson, meanwhile, still stuck in age 2. Healthy villager count at 46 to 46 apiece. So even though I said he probably would be a villager down, because of his later town center, he's pretty much even at the moment, so that's good for him. But Pharos pushing out up on this top side, hoping to try and punish this. He does not know about the hunt though, so he's actually pulling back, possibly just checking to see if there was a bunch of Sarasopha chasing, but now here they are. Oh, the bowman army is dangerously close then, but Crimson opting to try and chase the Sabaro, not successful. They're only slightly slower, and now the bowmen are pretty much safe. So Crimson probably could have punished Pharos there with that huge bowman count, relatively undefended, no spearmen or sparrow on top of them, but at the same time, now he's going to target the economy. So Pharos has run his army back together and moved up the push out, but while he's doing this, he's taking a bit of a hit back at home. He's lost a villager, he's having to garrison a bunch more, and right now he's pushing into Crimson and having to run his Asabara back to try and deal with this harass back at home. So he can't really deal with the Toxotes, but he's actually bringing back the Asabara now. Oh, here are the Saris. We're going to get some good kills because they're basically going to be able to kill 3 or 4 bowmen at a time here. And Pharos retreating while taking some heavy losses there. He's still ahead in terms of population actually, so he's 59 to 49 villagers. At the moment he's up in terms of villagers with that earlier town centre. Crimson's still stuck in age 2 but taking age 3 now. So Crimson getting a bit of damage, but probably needing to get a bit more out of the kills of this bowman ball, because now Pharos is actually ahead in terms of his population. even in terms of his army size. But Crimson making use of the quicker cavalry. The Saris able to make a bit of a run for it. Get some of these villager kills. At the same time, Pharos is running them down, so Crimson Kentab needs to get these Saris out of here now that he's got the villager kills he needed. It's 53 to 63 villagers. The gap's only 10 again. It opened up to about 13. Looks as though Crimson's going to throw away some more Saris. It's just inside a tent range too, I think. Good watchtower from Crimson, and he's going for an early market, so he knows all about down here. He knows if this hunt's going to get taken. And he's moving on to his market to make up for the fact that he's got the later town centre, which he's already throwing down now too. So Pharos' economic lead won't be around for much longer, I don't think. He's 63 villagers, 62 sorry, to 58. Unless he can get his own market out really quick, which Crimson is going to have a good idea where it's going to go down. He's seen his own watch post go down. In fact, most of these resources down here are actually being gathered, so he's going to want to hit that soon, and I think he probably will. Up to 4 stables, so he wants to be able to add Saris and prods in now, because they're going to be the bulk of his hit and run army, and in order to contend with the Asabara, which are going to be able to flank right around the map like this, so Pharos, really nice harass. $64 to $67 the work account, still favouring Pharos, but no huge gap, and Crimson still has that market advantage over Pharos for now. But I do like Pharos' army. He's 20 pop ahead overall, and it looks really scary with this huge number of Asabara champion, and he's got bowmen, no champion on them yet, but he does have the gold to be able to work towards that now. I think he wants to conserve a bit to be able to remax behind this fight though. This isn't 175 pop. Crimson is also maxed out now. Big number of bowmen here for Pharos, so they've been flanked by the cavalry of Crimson, so Pharos is having a micro back, all of his spears back to deal with his threat, which he's done so. So it looks as though he's killed all the cavalry for the Greek player, so Crimson's now struggling. He's down 60 population. I think Pharos has possibly cracked him with this age 2 push. He's still just about maxed out. Upgrades kicking in now, both armory upgrades. This is both armor upgrades, sorry. This is perfect for him because now he's just looking to siege his opponent. Crimson Kentab trying to run out some units, but he's only at 95 pop, trying to throw down a defensive fortress. No upgrades from the armory yet for him, so that's really going to hurt for him. And now Pharos, it seems it's all of his age 2 upgrades, so it's a whole age's upgrades ahead. Still pretty much maxed out, streaming Asabara into Crimson's base, sitting on top of his production facilities with the rest of his army, picking everything off that comes out, but he's trying to shift forward. I think he might have realised that there's a fortress going up and he might want to try and siege this distant town centre. I think that's the objective now, although he probably could have finished off these 2 production facilities, because Crimson's still going to be able to make units out of those. Perhaps it's a bit too late to matter though, because Crimson's down 62 to 76 workers. Pharos is still maxed out, Crimson's not, so Pharos is in an ideal spot to be able to siege this town centre and take it for free here. Crimson having invested a lot into that fortress too, so Pharos, the more damage you can do on the peripheral of Crimson's base, the more it's going to hurt him. This top side relatively under-defended as well, so units heading around to go and deal with that from Pharos. Town centre gonna go down, I think. Crimson may have to tap out in a minute. Try his luck in game number 2, but perhaps he can also hold on here. He's gonna get a lot of anti-range and a lot of range. Get a little bit of anti-cavalry in the Prodromos, and he can possibly hold on here. Pharos is up 70 population though. So that's a huge, scary death ball there. And especially since the Greek player has no upgrades yet. He's really behind here. I mean, if he was even upgrades, this population difference, I think he'd be okay, but considering the upgrade difference as well, getting Ashlar Masonry too, but he's being hit from the top side just as it kicks in, and there's nothing really to defend this. So Pharos creeping forward with this ranged and spearman death ball, and he sent the Asabara in to try and clean up some of these workers now, which he's getting a huge number of them. So Pharos, 78 to 51 villagers for Crimson. Things are looking really dire for him. He's got no food in the bank. There's Asabara all over his farms, and he doesn't really have the Prodromos count to deal with them alone. He's actually having to bring his whole army up to deal with this, while at the bottom side, Pharos is going to push in again. So Pharos is sieging Crimson Kentab's main town centre after taking that third one. The fortress is to great effect though. That area damage, getting a lot of bowmen, probably one every volley there, as well as damage on all the rest of them. So, oops, sorry. Right now, Crimson chasing Pharos, but he doesn't really have the units to take that fight. He's got the rest of his army parked up here, so he's just sitting it back for the time being. It's 104 pop to 79, so big pop lead, but Pharos also 84 villagers to 46. Not ahead by a huge amount of army at the moment, but a huge amount of economy. That raid at the top side really hurting Crimson. He's had to relocate a lot of villagers over here, and he's only just starting that third town centre again now, so not a lot of bank, not a lot of score, as can be seen. So it's a really tough spot for him to be in, and this little wedge both players would be in does favour the Greek player here, but at the same time there might be just enough here for Pharos to make this work. He's got enough Asabara, he's getting a good surround off here, and the range can pretty much fend for itself. There's mounted archers in the mix, so it was able to really clear through all the cavalry streaming through. GG, Crimson Kentab taps out for game number 1. Really impressive game 1 from both players there, but Pharos the victor of that one. Phenomenal stuff, guys. Alright, so Crimson can tab, swapping to Egypt. Game number 2, Farrell sticking with his Persians. What they dig in on equal footing now. I'll take us over in just a second. So, solid displays there from both players for game number 1. But Farrell's proven to just be that little bit stronger in that first series, in that matchup. Crimson opting for his Egyptians now. So, he's a really solid player himself, but he a little bit out of practice, I think. The other players really just in fine form, really just in tune. A lot of games played recently. So Farrell spawning as player number 1, winner of game number 1 in this series. Taking his hunt, probably opting for the same build considering it's equal footing. Very short rush distance, forward side hunts generally for both players. So Crimson, as you can see, has taken one. So here's our player number 2, our loser of our game number 1. And a really strong player regardless. Played a lot of series, very decorated in the community challenge. Win or loss, forced a lot of good players to the last game in the series as well in his losses. So some very strong gameplay from him. Notable wins over Chandler and a really good series against Warlock in the past as well as wins over Unstable and other players. Barris finishing up for him. Farrell's in the meanwhile. Really strong performance recently in Zoo Zealots, where he finished up at 4th place, I believe. Easy taking 3rd, and Game Video taking 1st. Alundra taking 2nd in that one, so really strong tournament performance from all players. Thanks for attending that one, guys. So the Spearman out on the field already for Crimson. Farrell's barracks a little bit later this time. So Crimson already up to 2 spears. As the Sparrow has hit Q, so the 3rd spear should even be out in time before this all. There is really a defense here for the Persian player, although that 3rd spear won't really be joining this fight. And he is crossing the field, but he's peeling back because he's being run down. Sorry guys, I was just making sure there's no issue with the stream. Nothing in the chat. Cool. So, fight going down. And it looks as though Spearman sort of wedged into a bit of a tight spot, really. But the Sparrow's going to go down first. Crimson not opting to... Oh, he does opt to micro the spear in the end, but ends up sticking around to get the Sparrow and sacrifice himself. But this storehouse is going to go down for Pharos, who's opted to just sort of sit on the cows for now. No hunting dogs for him, but no Picker's Gloves commitment yet either. And he does have 2 Sparrow here to defend this time. So he should be, and a 3rd has popped out, so he should be able to actually hold, force Crimson back, or to bring all the spears in. If Pharos fights too far outside of this town center range, I think Crimson should be able to win these fights because he does have that slight unit count advantage. And those couple of early kills as well. He did save that spear, so some good micro from him. Don't know if he's going to save this little fella here, but he may be... Oh, no, he does fall. So Pharos with some good defense there, and the aid tent has popped out for him, so he can now heal these low Sparrow. I think he's going to pull them back in distance of healing. I hope he does, because he's going to need to. And, oh, Crimson bringing his Priestess, so he's sort of committing heavily on that now. Adding the stone storehouse, so I don't think he's really all-inning here. Doesn't seem to be adding more gold and then just adding a second barracks or anything, but he still brought his Priestess up to get the healing out, so that is going to slow down his economy behind this. So he is going to need to get some value out of this, but he's going to be able to, I think, because he's going to be able to keep these Spearmen all topped up, keeping the Priestess as far back out of range as possible. So it's annoying for Pharos to try and chase this down. So Pharos losing a Sparrow, umming and ahhing about whether or not to take out the Priestess of Ra. So Crimson going to try and harass the barracks as best he can, forcing Pharos to repair it and bring everything in. And that Priestess healing is going to be a huge benefit. Keeping the spears there alive for a little bit longer than he otherwise would. And he's kept the Priestess tucked in behind the tree, so that's really smart of him, but at the same time, Pharos is going to try and sneak in on it. Bring all the priests forward. Bring all the Spara forward, and he's going to get the priestess here, I think. Oh no, that's some... He will get the priestess in the end. So Pharos getting some nice value out of that little push. Back out. Driving Crimson out of his base, but now he's going to be careful to not lose too many Spara, and he can try and micro the healing onto this one, although he is going to lose this fella if he's not careful, because, well, it looks like no, Crimson's just going to back off. So Pharos keeping everything alive for the most part there. Crimson ahead by 2, population by 3 villages. Actually, Pharos not really keeping up in terms of his production behind all this, so that's going to punish him a little bit. Crimson's really harassed him really well behind this, because even though he's lost his priestess, he's ahead by 4 villages, which is really 3 villages, which is phenomenal. He hasn't even committed to his age up yet. Neither player has, so there's not even that factor in play to boost the Egyptian villager count. So he's up by 3.5 villages. Really nice stuff. Pharos probably losing slightly less in terms of military overall, and you know, Egyptian player losing his priestess, but still Pharos under the pressure, not able to maintain the production as well as he might like, but he's got a huge Spara count here, so he should be able to push out and deal some good damage before the Egyptian hits his age 2 and gets enough axemen to really respond. But this Spara might give the game away here, in a sense that he might reveal what Pharos is trying to do, streaming units across, but Crimson's going to pick off these 3 Spara, I think. Same time Pharos is streaming the... Ooh, he's got 20 here that I don't think Crimson has realised are on the way. He's throwing down the stables now to respond, but perhaps he needs to get the axemen out, because Crimson's going to have to deal with a huge number of Spara here. Bringing all the spearmen down, but Pharos is going to be able to siege this extremely well. He'll be able to stop this stables going down too. With only a single barracks and there's no axemen in queue yet, Crimson's going to have a hard time defending against this. Pharos has really scared him with this reverse push here. I think the mass of the Spara is going to make this very hard for Crimson to hold on here. He's going to need to try and cram out as many spearmen, as many axemen, and another barracks here to try and defend against this, I think. We'll get the second town centre down if he can sneak it out. He's just got the resources to do so now, but Pharos is going to focus down the barracks, so Crimson's not going to have much left to defend with. As long as Pharos focuses down the axemen, he can pretty much ignore the spearmen until he takes out the barracks. At the same time, I think he's going to get the barracks regardless. He's going to have to worry about focusing the axemen first. Crimson at the same time is going to have to desperately hold on, throw up some more production to defend in time. 23 villages to Pharos to 22 to Crimson, so now the shoe's on the other foot. Crimson losing a couple of villages and a bit of production time there. I think he's ultimately held here. He's going to try and get another barracks out, but Pharos is going to do everything he can to stop this. He's committed to a second barracks and getting a third behind this, so he's going to mass Spara push his opponent. He's going to need to get something to thin out the axemen soon though. And he's going to get the priestess. Barracks does finish off, but at 3-1 barracks, he's pretty much going to be able to trade Spara and axemen cost effectively here. So there's a lot of kills here for Pharos, and he's still streaming units across. He's up to 16 food gatherers. Crimson onto 0, so there's no axemen in production yet for him. He's going to have to try and get food from somewhere, so he's going to try and take the hunt down here, but he's also trying to commit to a second barracks too and losing more villagers in the process, so he's down to 24 villagers to Pharos's 24 despite having the second town centre. Pharos is keeping him pretty much even in terms of the worker count, and there's no units yet in production for Crimson. He's pretty much food broke. Pharos, 4 barracks, continuing to produce villagers on top of this. He knows about Crimson's food gathering up on the top side, which is distance at the moment. So he's stopping all that, and here at the hunt, that's the only form of safe gathering Crimson's really got. Because Pharos just knows about everything else. He's taking out the second barracks now if he can. And he's trying to interrupt this third barracks going up. At the same time, Crimson doing everything he can to muster up some axemen behind this. But I don't know if he's going to have enough. He's already taken a huge blow. He's actually still even in worker count. So that's really going to hurt him. He's committed to the second town centre, but against the Persian player, it's perhaps not the best strategy considering they've got so much armour under the range fire, 40% armour on the spar against that town centre fire. Even though they don't trade well against the Axemen, you get enough of them, you fight 3 or 4 to 1, you're going to win the fights anyway. So Pharos is doing just that right now. Crimson is pretty much broke. He's only just holding on in this series, but there's pretty much no units left for him. There's 24 spar in his base right now. He's only got 15 villagers, so I think this one is probably going to be a GG. Fifth barracks coming out now for Pharos, adding in even more houses. Still creeping across the map with as many spar as he can. Another barracks coming out now, but 2 barracks coming out for Crimson. So he's on to 3 barracks now. But he doesn't have the resources to do anything with them. He's still trying to mass up as much wood as he can to keep replacing them as they get destroyed. But ultimately, I think Pharos has broken him here. He's got him down to 5 villages. GG is called. So Pharos wins the series 2-0. So Pharos, really heavy play with that sneaky column of Spara around the side of the map as Crimson was sitting on his doorstep. Had just enough to really overwhelm him, drive everything back, and he's committed to more and more barracks. He's just stepped up barracks after barracks after barracks here, taken as many hunts. Probably could have even taken hunting dogs and just, you know. But even still, he's managed to really steamroll over Crimson in this series. GG, well played to both players. Thanks for playing, guys. And we're going to go to the next series very shortly. Alright guys, so we're spawning in on inland. So, give it up for Taz and for Game Video in what's to be an epic battle between the pair of them. So we've got spawning as the yellow player today. Game Video on his Celts and on the purple we have Taz as the Egyptians. So we've got a 3 pool spawn. So there's 9 schools of fish across these 3 pools, which both these players are going to want to contest pretty quickly, I imagine. So double storehouse openings abound. Actually, I take that back. Taz choosing to go for the aggression this one. Not sure if that's the best map for this choice of build. It can still work though if you shun your opponent and deny a late opportunity to get on the water. Game Video probably going to look at taking the water now though. He's found this lake here. So there we go, the dock goes up. He's pretty content to play the greedy build. And Taz is going to have to try and interrupt this. Considering he's committed to that barracks, he's not going to be able to get on any of this water fairly early. Although he does have a close spawn to 2 lakes here, whereas Game Video is sort of... well, I suppose they're just as far from one another. I mean, from this lake, from one another. But anyway, the dock's going down. More spears are coming out. Taz is gonna scout the Game Video, has no military production just yet. You can see the hunt, so that's what he's really looking to go for with these early spears. He's already sending them across the map, so he might like to even want to clear these walls up with his scout before he starts losing a bit of health on these spears. Game Video in the meanwhile committing to the water, getting the fishing boat, so this is going to slow down his aging up. Going to slow down any barracks coming out to deny Taz's pressure here. And he's going to have to start microing back villages soon. So he pulls away these 2. And a 3rd. So he's forced to pull back everything eventually. Taz is going to have to back off, but he does get the storehouse. And he does ultimately slow down Game Video's food gathering. Game Video getting a wood storehouse. Don't pick his gloves for him yet. Taz has already aged up behind this. He's only put in a minimal investment to his spear, so I do like that fact. But Game Video already getting his own barracks and aging up as well. So Taz, no stone, no dock just yet, so he needs to apply the pressure somewhere. Somewhere fast, because Game Video does have that fishing ship advantage over him. It's 13 to 16 in the villager counts. Taz has a lot of villagers queued up now. I think he might have had a bit of downtime with this trading there. So he probably really should only be 1 villager down at this point. He didn't get any villager kills off Game Video, but he did, you know, force Game Video to have to get the early barracks, delay those 2nd and 3rd fishing ships. Age up here for Game Video now, so we're hitting age 2 for both players. Axeman coming out for Taz. 2nd fishing ship, 3rd on the way, and net lures. No dock commitment yet for Taz. But he is going on the stone, so he is going to look at getting his 2nd town centre. A little bit up in terms of population, so he's got a few more infantry out in the field than his opponent. He'll probably look at trying to punish Game Video, but he probably needs to bring everything together rather than taking any town centre fire with only a couple of units in play. second barracks coming down for game video. He knows he can sort of commit to it considering he's got a dock, and he probably is assuming his opponent doesn't yet. So the spears are going to go down quite quickly here. And there's only an axeman just joining the fray now. So Taz probably needed to wait till he had some axemen there to really take that fight. Barracks coming out now for Taz. Stables. Sorry, stables. Dock coming out now for Taz. Barracks finishing up for game video. Wondering whether we're going to see stables from Taz soon. So the game video is saturated that first. They're going for the second now. Got his scout on the far side of it just to see if Taz is going to go for it as well. Taz bringing in a Priestess of Ra. He really needs to clear these wolves because otherwise he might take needless damage on his healers, so that'd really suck for him. He is going to take a couple of hits there. So 20 health, that's equivalent to a couple of attacks from game video's infantry. He doesn't have a second priestess to top her up either, so that's not ideal for him. In fact, he's streaming her down and she's undefended. Taz getting net lures himself. Game video and Taz are going to both be on this water. Taz is going to look at taking it as well now. But Taz is going to try and hit the dock. Game video at the same time. Getting a swan ship. So Taz isn't going to be able to finish this off before the swan ship pops out, but it also means that the dock is a bit damaged. So it means if the swan ship falls, because of warships from Taz, then it's going to be easier to kill off eventually, and it might mean that game video doesn't commit to a second, but Taz needs to move everything away before he starts losing units here. Game video is going to be right to attack the army, and now he's going to engage with his own army. So game video is probably going to lose this dock, but I don't know if it's going to be to huge effect because he's going to lose most of his army in response to this. His own dock getting cancelled, and he commits to a a tower instead. The game video only has a ship left on the lake, and he's wiped out Taz's army, so that's not the best trade for Taz, really. Game video free to be able to get, well, not really free to be able to get in the water, but free to be able to take that tower behind this, because there's not really much of an army left here for Taz at the moment. 30 to 29 villages, so the kill player slightly ahead in the vill count. I suppose that's the fact that he's got an extra villager out overall. Equal on the water, on the fishing ship count. Upgrades wise, game video a little bit ahead of Taz, who's just now getting his picker's gloves. He has taken this wheelbarrow, which game video hasn't, so they're actually sort of even on that front, sorry. They're both really going to be able to deny one another on this water, funnily enough. But that's also going to cost game video 3 population that it won't cost Taz. He already has druids in the mix too, so this is great for him. If he can match the Priestess of Ra count with his druid count, the Egyptian player is sort of on the back foot in the fight, because the druids actually will buff the damage of the long swordsman, and when they haven't got champion on either unit, long swordsmen are just the better unit overall. 50 versus 60 cost unit, and the druids offer a damage buff as well. So I think game video should be right to win this fight right now, but he does lose one of the druids. Still has another in play though, so he's okay for now. And he wipes out game video, Taz's front line there. I do like these forward houses, but at the same time Taz may lose them. They're going to buy him a bit of time on the dock, but he needs to get a warship and try and pull a reverse play of what game video pulled on him. He's going to need to mass everything up and push here, but he needs the units to be able to do so. He's got 3 barracks and streaming everything out. He's even got a stables, but he's dropping units in fights he shouldn't be taking just yet. And ideally he's going to lose this dock, so game video is going to take Taz's dock, and this time hasn't lost an army in exchange for it. So Game Video in a much better spot right now. He still has a backup druid in case he loses his first one, so this is great for him. And the druids are keeping so many units of Game Videos alive. So Taz stuck dead in the water over there, but he is over on this one. Game Video must have lost that ship, but scouted that Taz is on that water, so he is actually right to try and clear this out now. Well, Taz is going to want to try and get back on this. Game Video can just leave his scout there. Taz isn't hugely behind at the moment, but he's down by 7 villages. So I don't think he really lost any there, but just the pressure of keeping things in queue while also trying to minimize your losses in these fights. It's getting to him a little bit. Game Video producing really well behind this. Constant villager production. Taz expanding up here onto the hunt, as well as having taken that lake. He hasn't gone back on this one just yet, and he's going to lose those houses, but he does have plenty left to make up a bit of space so he can keep training units. Game Video's Age 3 kicking in a little bit earlier than Taz's now. Templar set going up and empowered with a couple of villages, so it won't be far off for Taz, but at the same time, that's training really fast. Same time, Game Video does still have that side edge in the age up and the resources to throw up a town center. I think he's going to get back on this. Both of these lakes down here on the lower side of the map. Taz has the top side one now. Game Video does have the units to really be able to just try and snipe that tower and dock before any warships get out though, because he does have a slight edge in terms of the army, I think. He's got upgrades over Taz, actually. He's got damage, he's getting his armor upgrade as well, and Taz adding in camels and slingers into the mix here. So he wants to try and snipe the druids, but I don't know if he's really going to be successful in doing so. His Age 3 kicking in now as well, but he hasn't got his champion, Longswordsman champion, not out either, so no other players really got near their Age 3 upgrades yet. But Taz's front line just not strong enough to really handle Game Videos at this point. So Taz really desperately needs to get that champion upgrade out. Needs to catch up in terms of upgrades, because Iron Smelting is going to kick in here for Game Video. He's already got both the melee armor and damage upgrades ahead over his opponent. I mean, if he gets a third, it's going to be pretty much impossible for Taz to actually engage him at all. As you saw there, with even count of units, he pretty much just got decimated, and he pretty much would need to have a bigger army size by about 10 to 20% to really take that fight. He desperately needs to get these druids down somehow, so he's adding the slingers to do that, but that also means that he's got less axemen in play, so he needs to get straight on the druids when he does so, and he wasn't. So the slingers now coming out for Game Video, and he's going to want to try and do the same thing, prevent any form of chariots as well coming out now from the Egyptian player, without having to spend barrack space queuing up Woad Raiders, as well as the fact that they are quite gold heavy, whereas the slingers, well, they're half the price in terms of the gold, and they cost wood instead of food, so it just means that you're going to have a bit more to spend on Longswordsman as well. So no champion for him yet, but no Axeman champion has kicked in for Taz. So now he is going to have a bit of a boon in these fights, but does he have the unit count to hold on? Those slingers in the back line and protecting the druid. It looks like Game Video still has just enough to take these fights, getting more slingers and some of his Bard Hall upgrades. But he probably needs to switch over to Bowman Woad Raider eventually here, because he is sitting on an Age 2 composition eventually at the end of the day. And eventually he is going to want to swap over, because he hasn't even got the champion upgrades on the units. So either he's got to take them or swap the units, or both. But it looks like Game Video is going to have a swan ship out just in time to deny Taz here, but Taz also knows about the dock. So Both players may be able to engage over the water here. Oh, Taz actually queuing another fishing ship. Well, Game Video's Swan ship has already popped out, so he's already killed off those fishing boats. It has continuing to gather around this top side, but I think Game Video is going to find out about this very soon. He hasn't spotted it all yet, but he doesn't even know the resources are there, so... Once he does so, Taz is going to find himself in a pickle because he's already down 75 to 58 villages, and if he loses these guys, I think he's pretty much over. So Game Video still can't actually see any of that stuff, so it's really lucky for Taz, but be careful to not stream any units over or anything like that now. And he has lost this front gold line. He is trying to get a forward fortress on his base here. Well, a front side fortress. It's not really forward because it's miles from Game Video, who's walling up now as well. Big number of axemen though, so Game Video is not really prepared to take that fight head on because he's only got a handful of bowmen and he has a handful of long swordsmen here. There's a lot of slingers, but I think he was probably anticipating a lot of chariots here from Taz. So in a head-on fight, Taz now actually has a slight advantage in the fight, I think. So Game Video still has upgrade advantages over Taz. He just has about the same size army though, which is what's holding him back. But if he can edge out a bit of a bigger army now, and I think he can considering the eco advantage he's got over his opponent. It's already on the market as well, Taz. No market just yet. Game Video is probably going to have figured out that Taz is going to go for something on the sides of his base again. Still has most of the map control in the game. But Taz able to keep gathering on these resources for now. Getting playouts that's going to be useful for him in sitting in his base. Whereas Game Video hasn't committed to the farms yet, so Taz really needs that to catch up in terms of the food eco, otherwise he's really gathering at a disadvantage. But there's a big fight going on down, and the comps for both players are both very good now because there's a few more bowmen in the mix, and there's a lot more long swordsmen, and they've got their own champion upgrade now, so they're able to take the fight with the Axeman champion a lot better. And overall, Taz just doesn't have enough with the upgrade disadvantage as well because Game Video has now got all of his Bardall upgrades he can get and all of his armory upgrades he can get. He's really sitting quite well. He's just waiting on Shield Truss, and that was a very melee oriented composition, so he's effectively had full upgrades there in that fight. So Game Video able to push now. Taz just trying to struggle to get out his age 2 upgrades now. So he's basically down by 2 ages worth of upgrades, and GG is called. Taz taps out for game number 1. We're going to go to game number 2 in just a minute, but Game Video playing really, really solid right now. Well played to both players. GG, well played. Especially to Game Video there. Alright guys, so for game number 2, we have Tundra. And I'm just going to correct that. There we go. So, spawning, this time as the yellow Egyptian player. The game video, swapping to the Civ that Taz just played. The Tiv. Anyway, spawning as the Persian purple player. That looks like a really cool little glow around the TC there. A big neon. Anyway, we got Taz there, going for his dock. Game video also going for his dock. Game video. Bit of travel distance there. That's not really going to hurt him a huge amount, I don't think. Taz's dock a little bit closer to his first pond, unless there's one right here for game video actually. Really lucky there for him. Same time, he could probably also tell that the fact that there was one here and one here, probably the same sort of distance between the next one, because it's going to be one here and one here. It's pretty much a pattern up the whole lake there. So he's got mad skills. So both players going for a fairly macro opening here. Fishing ship already out for Taz, on the way for game video. Villager count is 10 to 9 in favour of Taz. But he's actually not producing any villagers or fishing ship at the moment, so that's really going to hurt him. This game video, going to have the wood for a second fishing ship immediately. No downtime on his villagers there. So he's actually pulled evenly in terms of his villager count. Slightly ahead in terms of when his villagers come out now. And his second fishing ship's already on the way, so game video is slightly pulling ahead in terms of his economy over Taz. Second fishing ship coming out now for Taz. Game video is actually distance gathering all this wood here, whereas Taz isn't distance gathering, so this is going to hurt game video a little until he can actually throw down. Well, he's going for a Temple of Ra really early. There's no wood storehouse at all, so he's distance gathering quite a bit here. And then now throwing down the storehouse, but this time it's actually in range of these deer as well, so the rest of the deer, I think there was probably 2 or 3 deer up here and he's gone, as well as those starting trees. Well, he probably could have gone here to begin with. I think he'll probably put it here to begin with, and then put a second there. Either or, doesn't matter. But Taz, gonna be quicker on the age up, I think. No, game video will be quicker. He's only got one villager on the... Ooh, this little guy's stopped for some reason. Idlers there for game video. Taz momentarily slower on the age up. Neither player gathering any stone yet. Gold on the way for game video though. So what's he planning to do here? He's already got 150 in the bank, his starting gold. He hasn't committed to any eco-techs that have costed any. So if he's already going for gold, not too sure what he's looking to do. Maybe try and raid Taz somewhere. Taz already going on his range and going for his stone before his gold, so he's probably looking to play a bit more defensively, get a couple of bowmen to defend, get the town center out, and then just keep producing units behind it. The game video is already going to have a stable, so he's already going to have cavalry in the mix, so it'll be a bit of pain for Taz because he can't really chase them down with the bowmen. He can hope to get off a couple of shots, but he's also having to commit to the gold now as well, so he'll be able to keep pumping those out though at least. But if game video pushes with a couple of camels, as long as he sits outside of town center range, he can try and harass the wood line here for Taz. Aid tent, wheelbarrow, and handsaw coming out for Taz. Handsaw for game video. age 3. Quick age 3, so fast chariots here for game video. I think is probably the game. No camels in queue, and he's gathering a lot of wood, but he's still not ideal gathering. He probably needs another storehouse over here. Barracks coming out now for Taz. But stuck in age 2. He's not going to have anything to really help him respond to the chariots terribly easily. I mean, the Sparrow can sort of tank a couple of shots, but can't really run down the chariots the way that Asabara can, or mounted archers can. Spearmen coming out now, actually, so that's going to be a good counter to any camels, but there's no camels on the way. A second stable's coming out, H3 finishing off for game video. Gathering a lot of gold, bit of wood too. Only 5 gatherers on the food, so he's definitely looking and going for chariots, I think. Probably needs to shift these villagers to the front side there so he can actually gather optimally, because as they come out of the TC there, they've got that extra travel distance. If you move them over here and then rally them back on the gold mine, they'll actually rather gather from the close side and gather that little bit more optimally as the game progresses. So that's something to keep in mind, guys. Because look at this, as game videos, villagers are popping out here, they'll just keep massing up here. Really, he's probably best off rallying it here, and then every time an idle villager pops up, sending him here, back to the gold deposit. As long as you're not letting the villagers idle here for more than about 5 seconds, you're actually going to save yourself time in the long run. Because this is going to cost game video about a second or a second and a half every time. You know, he goes back and forth there, so that's going to add up as the game goes on. So ultimately, I think he probably is the stronger macro player than Taz, but right now with these little mistakes, it's sort of keeping him at the same level. Same deal with that wood earlier on there. He's got his chariot archers out now though, so this is going to prove to be a bit of a threat. Like I said, Taz, no age 3 on the way yet, so he hasn't got the ideal units to deal with him. He's getting the stables now, so he's finally going to be able to, but in saying that, he's got the worst barracks choice to deal with chariots, although the better barracks choice to deal with camels, obviously. With a late stables, he's not going to be well off against a big mass of chariots if Game Video can afford to get them out. He's adding a armory now, so he's going to add upgrades too, and probably a third stables in a minute. With no second town center, he probably could have afforded to go for the second town center and then added the stables, I think, here. Because he's going to look at adding that and armory upgrades now. Villager count wise, it's 36 to 33. Game Video sort of pulled everything together here. Now he brings back the priestess, and he has a this mass range and cavalry comp here. Full mounted units. This is going to be scary for Taz to deal with, because as long as the camels don't stand on the spearmen and they go straight for the Asabara, Game Video has a much stronger composition here. Couple of Asabara heading out to take a peek around the map. Bit of a scout. The chariots come in and they're doing a bit of a harass already, so Taz forced do a bit of a garrison there, and all the villagers are quite low. They will heal up in time though, because he has aid 10. Game Video only taking a bit of TC fire on a single camel there. Adding in some more chariots now, and barbed arrows finishing up, so he's going to have that slight upgrade edge over Taz here So he's taking an engage now that it's kicked in. And as long as he can keep kiting and reduce the damage that the camels are going to take, he can keep getting off these really high damage hits on the spearman. He's got 240 damage, a shot there with the chariots. I don't think he lost anything, just got a couple of kills of Taz. Another range coming out, so he's going to look at getting out Takabara, I think. And more Asabara, because he really wants to defend against that big chariot wall. One of the merchant transports being sniped there. So Taz going to find it difficult to clean this up because this is harassing his water and his wood line. Although Game Video can't really take a fight into that army behind the TC, so he's going to have to back off ultimately. But he did get some value out of that trade. I think he really only took a bit of damage again. Not really losing anything himself. Killing a couple of Taz's eco units there, so 45 to 43 is the villager count for both players. Mounted archers joining the mix. Asabara in play as well. Another stable is being added, so that's good news for Taz, but at the same time he needs to hold on. His scout being picked off there. Game Video for now. He's going to try and hit this distant dock, and he's actually picked the right time because he's going to pick off a couple of villagers that have just finished it off and a merchant transport, so it's not good news for Taz at all. Of the 3 eco units going down for him. Game Video having added his second town centre now, and so is Taz, but neither of them have added their third yet, so both of them anticipating a lot of fights here and some Asabari going down there. So both been in H3 for a little bit here. Game Video actually noticing Taz has this dock up here, so I've missed this. The Game Video already has 2 fire ships. He's managed to muster up these. I missed this going down, but Game Video is already prepared to take a fight to deal with Taz's proxy dock. And Game Video is walling Taz in, which is interesting because usually the proxier walls the other person. The Game Video just trying to get out of range of the polar bear to throw down another wall to keep his opponent in, which is an interesting tactic because, like I said, usually the proxier walls themselves in because then they're free to take a tower, get the villagers out, or keep gathering. At the same time, Taz going to lose a dock over on his side of the map. And he is going to notice this, so he is going to focus down the villager. The Game Video already has some camels here in tow. As Taz commits to a guard tower, so he's going to pick now to go in as his opponent's committed to that spending. Going to throw down his own guard tower. Taz cancels his, brings the camels away. Huge ball of mounted archers here to try and hit these camels. But Taz has fallen into a bit of a trap here because Game Video has him surrounded. He's going to pick off a lot of the mounted archers here with the chariots in tow. Mounted archers are going to get a bit of value against the camels. With one of these fire ships coming in to do a bit of work. Not really going to be of any use, but most of the mounted archers falling anyway. So Game Video a little ahead in terms of army population right now. And he's put a forward fortress in his opponent's base, so this is going to interrupt any potential for a market line on this side of the map. Taz is forced to go up here. This gold mine is pretty precariously placed, and the elephant is going to be able to harass this pretty quickly. Workshop coming out now for Taz. Game Video going to get that dock there, so the proxy over before it started, but Taz also aware that he can go for this other side, and he's still got those mounted archers alive. Maybe to go for a bit of harass up here or something. But he's going to lose that dock. Game Video bringing his army out now. So he's up by about 40 population. No third town center yet for either player again. Like I said, they're really playing quite heavily with the aggression. Working counts 61 to 51. So even with the water and yeah, the age 3 early, no third town center for either player. No really high villager counts early on here. A lot of back and forth aggression here, but Game Video's come out on top on most of it. Taz seems to be macroing up really well behind this, and he's responded with the Rams to try and take out this forward fortress as well. A couple of priestesses in tow to keep Game Video's army topped up there, and he is going to go for a fairly safe market line, I think. Whereas Taz needs to go for the top side for one, and he needs to get his merchant transports back to work here. But he's going in. He's at 125 pop. Game Video's at 160 now, so Game Video in a much nicer spot at the moment. So GG is called. Taz taps out game number 2. Well played, guys. And we'll take a little break, and I'll see if I can get another game sorted. Yeah, GG, well played to both players today. Thanks for coming along. Game Video proving to be a little bit stronger in the matchup today. A valiant effort from Taz. And we'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to have to come up with an interim game before I go to bed. Alright guys, so we're starting out. We're gonna have EVP, me versus game video.
Iowa. Iowa. Raho. Here. Iowa. Rule. Two. Up never. Rule. Rahab. Ragam. Rahab.
Holy, Egypt is garbage. Egypt is actually garbage.
never. Ragil. Awa. Ragil. Adena.
Ru. Nossa.
Alright, GG to game video. I'll see you guys later, eh? Thanks for watching.